Greetings, everyone. Now, y'all know on my channel, there's no such thing as being politically correct. You might hear something uncomfortable, but you should try to listen closely, listen carefully to the reason why I'm talking about a particular thing. The particular thing that you may view as being um, incendiary or insensitive, right? So I had a conversation with a mixed race individual recently, right? I had a discussion with a mixed race individual about dreadlocks, right? The evolution or the development of the dreadlock culture just in general. This is around the world. We just were discussing the way in which this evolution took place, right? And so we just went from the outset, the inception of the dreadlocks culture in Africa, India, and the way in which it developed into the Rastafari culture in the West, right? And so throughout having this discussion, I wanted to interject some points, but I was being sort of thrown off by um, some divisive attacks. I was thrown off by some divisive attacks. So, but the point that I wanted to raise, just talking about the peace and love culture, and the growth and development of dreadlocks in music and in the inner city, in the Caribbean, the Bahamas, Jamaica, But what I wanted to talk about is um, the fact that dreadlocks are being adopted by the hip hop culture now, and now dreadlocks becomes associated with many other types of themes, like gangsterism, like murder, like violence, gang affiliation. So, you know, I wanted to mention this in this conversation, but like I said, as I tried to interject, I noticed some very targeted subliminal blows being thrown in my direction. And so why do I mention this story? Well, this was a mixed race individual that is a part of a black conscious organization, right? Now, you're in a black conscious organization, you know, knowing which part of your history you are inclined to is very important for a mixed race individual. You need to know what are the ideological underpinnings of your decision to become a part of a black conscious organization, right? And so, people, I want to admonish everyone to be wary and be careful when you see various snakes enter black conscious organizations, because sometimes the only purpose for some people is to disrupt the flow of what the organization is trying to accomplish. Now, I know many people of mixed race. Okay, some very good friends of mine are of mixed race identity. Okay, and when I'm talking about the African community, I'm including them in this body as well, because they have decided that, you know what, they will incline themselves to Africa. They will incline themselves to black consciousness more so than they would embrace uh, the colonial culture, European culture. So I embrace many people of mixed race, but you have some of these mixed race individuals, they enter organizations to create conflict. And many times I think there's a resentment because they see people around them who are authentically and 100% of African origin in terms of their hereditary traits and genetic traits. So sometimes I feel like there's a resentment. A friend of mine posted on Facebook before and said, as a mixed race person, he is not accepted by black people wholeheartedly and he's not accepted by white people wholeheartedly. So think about what that does to the psychology of a person when they find that they're not enough of a particular um, race to be accepted by any. And so in some cases, they become ostracized as well. So along with being socially promoted, right? They get social promotion because of their mixed race traits, but they also are ostracized by various factions of each race. But I had this conversation and I noticed, you know, some of these people, they really like to disrupt the flow of conversations, plant negative seeds in the discourse, you know, and I just wanted to discuss that because um, the crux of the matter, let me be 100 with the people, because I don't think um, hiding this in the spaces of my mind would do justice to this issue. I think I need to, allow for the public to consider some of my thoughts regarding this matter. So, okay, the crux of this matter, is whether or not a dreadlock like this, right? See the one I holding right here? Whether or not a dreadlock like this with some larger dimensions, right? Some larger dimensions is acceptable or more acceptable than a dreadlock like this, a little smaller. So if you look at the comparison here, okay, if you could see like width and thickness, so on and so forth, this would be discussing. This person, because they don't have a full claim on an African heritage, they look at other people who have more authentic African roots and they try to find reasons for divisiveness, to throw stones and to create conflict or to diminish a person's value or reputation, you know. So, and this stemming from their own insecurity, So we didn't create these dynamics. We didn't create them. We just so happen to have a black population mixed with individuals who are of a multiracial heritage. So there's some natural psychological differences and natural psychological concerns that will arise from this type of environment. We all grew up together, but we don't have the same, you know, racial heritage. And I don't think that this should be a source of division, but we happen to be at a stage in the development of the African community where um, it's not as easily rectified. But we're getting closer to this point, But I just found it strange, many times. I also find it strange in a lot of cases, people of a mixed race heritage, they are elevated to the top of all of these conscious organizations. In some cases, you find that the people who are at the very top in the high-ranking positions, they are from a mixed race heritage. So for I think also for the indigenous blacks, for the um, I could say fully African blacks, um, there's an insecurity that comes with associating with mixed race people because we tend to feel like we need to appease them. We tend to feel like we need to be acceptable to them. We just find it so great that we have this friend that has a light complexion. Their hair doesn't grow like our hair, it grows faster and it's more curly. So, some people in their mind, psychologically, they want to please people of a mixed race. So it's a slippery slope, not easily reconciled. But I think we're getting to this point where more discourse um, will shed more light on it and help us to rectify it. Because even right now, I find it difficult even explaining some of these ideas without sounding like I'm a racist. But at the end of the day, um, we need to discuss some of these issues. Because, there are many snakes. We got to look out for the snakes in conscious organizations because many times they don't really want to see us accomplish the things that we actually set out to accomplish. They actually just there to be a spoiler, to introduce more and more issues and take us further away from the goals that we have in our mind to accomplish. So, we need to work with people who we are sure are committed to the cause of Africa and want to actually see progress made rather than those who are just tagging along for affiliation. But let me know what your thoughts are from my sort of rambled explanation of my encounter. Let me know what you think about any of these themes that I mentioned, and just drop me a comment, like, subscribe. One love.